Hello guys, this is Alex again here from the Growing Younger team and Bodyfit Physiotherapy. Now today we're going to talk about arthritis. Now it's a very common condition that affects about 17% of people in New Zealand. So that's almost 1 in 5. Very common. And what I actually find in the clinic is that a lot of people who actually have arthritis don't quite fully understand what it actually means and what it entails. So the objective of this video today is to actually explain what arthritis is, what the symptoms are, so what can you expect from arthritis, and also most importantly, if you actually have arthritis to start with. Okay, so first of all, what can you expect to feel when you have arthritis? So the common symptoms are, number one, pain. Okay, so it's usually pain in the joints. So most frequently affected joints in the body are knees and hips. Okay, so people with arthritis in knees and hips will experience intermittent pain. So it means the pain kind of is on and off. Quite often the pain will come at night time. So people are awoken in the middle of the night by this intense ache, and it could be quite sore in the morning first thing as well. Sometimes it gets better as you move around. Okay. Swelling. So swelling is quite a common symptom as well. So knees, finger joints. Quite often you see older people with swollen knuckles. So that is a sign, quite often a sign of arthritis as well. Okay. Joint stiffness is another very common symptom. So especially people with advanced arthritis, they actually have difficulty bending their joints. So for example, with knees, they might have difficulty kneeling because they can't bend the knee properly. They might have difficulty getting down on the floor because they just can't bend their legs properly. Sometimes, especially in the severe cases, you may see redness on the skin. And also, quite a few people get especially when they try and squat, they get a grinding sensation around the kneecap area. But I've sort of talked about knees and hips and fingers, but arthritis can happen anywhere in the body. Okay, so it's not just those joints. It can happen in the shoulder, in the elbow, in the ankle, but most commonly you see it in the knees and hips. They are the most commonly affected areas in the body. Okay, now who is at high risk of getting arthritis? Now older people. Okay, so the older you are, the higher the likelihood that you will get arthritis. Now, I would almost say that most people after the age of 50, 60 get some degree of wear and tear, okay, of arthritis, okay. Obese people are also at high risk because they're having to carry more weight, and it affects particularly their joints in the lower part of the body, so knees, hips, ankles, and lower back, okay. Also, if you have previous injuries, so you might have had some bad injuries, playing sport when you were younger, and sometimes these injuries linger on, and they can actually cause increased wear and tear as we get older, and so you end up with arthritis in those joints. Now, the other thing I wanted to sort of demonstrate is I want to actually show you what arthritis looks like, or what is actually arthritis. So on the left hand side here, I've tried to draw kind of a normal joint. So that's your typical joint in the body that looks more like a knee joint. So you've got two bones. A joint essentially is the articulation or the connection between two bones. Okay, so that there. So in the middle in the joint you have the cartilage. Okay, so that sort of covers the surfaces of the joint where the two bones connect. Okay, so the cartilage is sort of like, you can think of it as a lubricant. It's a CRC of the joint. It makes the joint's surfaces move smoothly against each other rather than grind and catch. Okay, now on the right hand side, I'm going to draw an arthritic joint. Okay, so I've made it a little bit bigger so you can actually see what happens in that arthritic joint. Okay, so you've got a bone on one side. Now with arthritis, the cartilage actually wears out. So because of wear and tear, the cartilage that lines the joint, it breaks down, and instead of having a smooth surface, now you have little rough bits sticking out. Okay, so let's let's demonstrate it. So instead of having a nice smooth surface, you have little bits kind of on the surface like that, okay? Now, because the cartilage becomes thinner, the two bones are now sitting a lot closer to each other. So this surface is quite rough as well. So do you see how on the left hand side you've got a healthy joint, you've got a bit of empty space in between, right? Okay, so that means the cartilage is kind of keeping the two bones apart. Now on the right hand side, arthritic joint, because a lot of the cartilage is gone, now you have the two surfaces sitting a lot closer to each other, and there's more impact, and there's also a lot more grinding, catching in the joint. Now that friction, that grinding of the rough surfaces in the joint, in arthritic joint, it causes pain and inflammation, as you can imagine. That's why you get that grinding sensation when you try and squat and you have arthritis in your knees, and it creates that, even in some people, you can even hear it. It's like a sandpaper on sandpaper sort of sensation, and you can actually hear it sometimes. Okay, so that causes inflammation, pain, and swelling. So an arthritic joint quite often will look like, it won't be, it will look like there's a bit of swelling around it, okay? And it may actually feel quite hot to touch as well. So in essence, arthritic joint essentially is a joint that's been worn out, okay? And the surface has become quite rough, and it causes inflammation, pain, and swelling. Now, there's another feature of arthritis. Quite often, because of that wear and tear in the joint, the body reacts to this pain, to this damage, and you actually start to grow what's called osteophytes. Now, osteophytes are just little bony spurs that grow on the edges of your joint. So you can sort of picture them like that, little hooks that grow on the edges of your bones in the joint. And those little spurs, they actually sometimes catch, and they cause more pain and inflammation in the joint. Okay, so there's a number of ways that arthritic joint is quite different to a normal joint. Okay, now just to make something very clear, there are different types of arthritis. Okay, in fact, there's more than 140 different types of arthritis. There is a degenerative arthritis, which is the most common type, the osteoarthritis. There's infection arthritis, which is caused by some kind of joint infection. There's metabolic arthritis, which is commonly known as gout. And also there's arthritis caused by your immune system, where your immune system attacks your joints. And one of the most common types is rheumatoid arthritis. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're mostly talking about osteoarthritis, which is your typical, most common degenerative arthritis. So that's arthritis. Essentially, is the result of wear and tear. Okay, so we use our body during our lifetimes, and there's constant wear and tear on the joint. We're putting our weight on the joint. We do things, and essentially the covering of the joint gradually wears out, and therefore you end up with a joint that looks like this. Okay, so hopefully that helps to explain and make the topic of arthritis a little bit clearer. Now, in the next video, so look out for it, I will actually tell you if arthritis can be cured or not, and I'm going to show you what you can do to help it. Okay, so I'm going to talk in a bit more detail about what you can do to help your joint pain. All right. If you have any questions and if you're watching this on Facebook, you can pop some questions down below in the comment section, and I'll be happy to answer. Or alternatively, you can simply private message us, and I'll reply to that as well. Okay. All the best for now, and I'll see you in the next video.